Success is not complicated. It's not reserved for the lucky. It's not something just a select few are meant to achieve. Success is straightforward, but not easy. Success comes down to one thing: labor, every single day. No shortcuts, no secrets, no easy roads. Just constant, concentrated, disciplined work. And that's why most people never make it, not because they lack talent, not because they don't have the means, but because they aren't willing to put in the work when it matters most. Most individuals wake up every day waiting for motivation. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the perfect conditions. They wait for life to get easier, and that's why they stay trapped. Motivation is not reliable. It comes and goes. If you only work when you feel like it, you'll never get anywhere. The people that succeed work whether they feel like it or not. They show up even when weary. They execute even when things are tricky. They wake up every day and push themselves, not because it's easy, but because they refuse to settle for mediocrity. This is where most people fail. They tell themselves they're working hard. They believe themselves they're doing enough. But deep down, they realize they're leaving something on the table. They realize they're holding back. They know they could be doing more. That's the divide between those who thrive and those who struggle: the ability to push through resistance, to work harder than everyone else, not for a week or a month, but consistently for years. Hard work is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not easy. It's turning up early and staying late. It's sacrificing comfort for advancement. It's doing the work while no one is watching. It's pushing oneself to exhaustion and then finding another gear. It's keeping disciplined when the results aren't evident yet. It's making progress when no one else sees it. That's why so few people attain the highest levels of success, because they're not willing to withstand the discomfort hard effort entails. People love to talk about success. They love to talk about their goals, objectives, and plans. But when it comes to really performing the work day after day, week after week, year after year, they fold, they get distracted, they lose focus, they allow tiny setbacks to stop them. That's why most people spend their lives talking about success instead of living it. Because talking is easy, planning is easy, working is hard, and the people who win, they are the ones who stop talking and start doing. Here's the truth: hard work will always overcome talent when talent refuses to work. You can be the most skilled person in the room, but if someone more disciplined, consistent, and focused outworks you, you will lose every time. Talent without work is wasted potential. Those who thrive at the greatest level are not usually the most naturally gifted. They are the ones willing to work harder than everybody else. Hard effort is the great equalizer. You cannot influence where you were born, how much inherent talent you have, or the possibilities handed to you. But you can control how hard you work, how much effort you put in, and how disciplined you are. If you are prepared to wake up every day and outwork everyone around you, there is no limit to what you can achieve. But here's the problems. Most people aren't willing to work that hard. They say they want success, but they won't pay the price. They desire rewards without sacrifice, achievements without effort. They desire to be great, but won't undergo the process greatness needs. That's why most individuals stay mediocre. That's why many talk about success but never reach it. They're hoping for it to be simple. And it will never be easy. Winners wake up every day and do the work. No excuses, no hesitating, no waiting. They recognize success isn't about drive, it's about discipline. The secret to unstoppable success isn't talent or luck, it's the ability to work harder, longer, and smarter than everyone else. That's the difference. That's the edge. That's what differentiates those who succeed from those who don't. So the question is, are you willing to work harder than everyone else? Are you willing to trade comfort for progress? Are you willing to push yourself even when you feel like quitting? Because that's the price of success. That's the price of brilliance. That's the price of being the finest version of yourself. If you're not willing to pay that price, you'll never realize your full potential. But if you are ready to work harder than everyone else, to push through discomfort, and to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term success, then there is nothing you cannot do. You will climb above the competitors. You will generate chances others only dream of. You will develop a life most people never experience. Success is not about luck or talent. It's about how hard you're willing to work. That's the secret to unstoppable success. Hard effort isn't a one-time event or something you undertake for a few weeks or months before expecting benefits. Hard work is a lifestyle, an attitude, a daily decision to push yourself, especially when you don't feel like it. Most people think success is about huge occasions. They believe one big break, one lucky opportunity, or one flawless decision separates the successful from the mediocre. Success isn't based on spectacular moments. It's built on the tiny, consistent acts you perform every day. Most people never achieve because they're inconsistent. They work hard only when they feel motivated. They push themselves when things are exciting. But as soon as the excitement fades, as soon as things get difficult, or when they confront resistance, they cease. They slow down and hunt for an easier path. That's why most people don't make it. Success isn't about working hard when it's easy, it's about working hard when it's tough. It's about turning up when you're exhausted. It's about executing even when you don't see results yet. The people who thrive at the greatest level aren't those who always feel driven. They're the ones who've educated themselves to work when they're fatigued, to push when they feel empty, and to keep going even without any external reward. That's why so few people make it, because that level of discipline is rare. Most people are controlled by their emotions. If they get exhausted, they quit. If they get disheartened, they give up. If they feel unmotivated, they slow down. But winners aren't dominated by emotions. They're driven by their dedication to their mission. Many think hard work involves intense bursts of effort, pushing yourself to the limit for a few days until you collapse. But truly hard labor isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. It's about turning up every day and completing the effort, even when there are no instant returns. It's about making progress bit by bit, day after day, until momentum builds and success becomes inevitable. This is why most people fail. They labor hard for a while, but when results don't come fast enough, they stop. They convince themselves it's not working. They hunt for shortcuts or tell themselves success isn't intended for them. The truth is they gave up too soon. They stopped before the breakthrough. They slowed down when they could have pushed harder. They let emotions overwhelm discipline, and that's why they failed. But you won't make that mistake. Now you understand success isn't about instant gratification, it's about long-term consistency. It's about being committed even when improvement isn't obvious. It's about trusting the process even when results haven't arrived yet. It's about waking up every day and doing the work, not because you feel like it, but because you made a promise to yourself. So quit waiting for motivation. Motivation isn't reliable, it comes and goes. Some days you'll feel motivated, others you won't. But that can't dictate how you work. If you only work hard when you feel like it, you'll never make it. Success is about discipline, not motivation. Discipline involves doing the task even when you're tired, even when you're discouraged, and especially when you're doubting yourself. This implies you must quit making excuses, because excuses are the easiest way to rationalize failure. Most individuals don't like to acknowledge they aren't working hard enough, so they invent excuses. They blame their schedule, their circumstances, other people. They say they don't have enough time, that they're too fatigued, or that it's too difficult. But none of that matters. The only thing that matters is whether you're willing to do the effort. If you're willing to work harder than everyone else, you will win. Most people give up when things get rough, yet the bad days matter most. The days when you're exhausted, discouraged, or feel like quitting, those are the days that define you. Those are the days that divide the successful from the mediocre. Anyone can work hard when things are going well. Anyone can stay motivated when they're winning. But the folks who succeed in the long term are the ones who keep working when things aren't functioning yet. The ones who keep showing up while no one else is watching. The ones that push through discomfort and keep going when everyone else has quit. This is where most people fail. They labor hard until it gets difficult, until they hit a wall, until they confront resistance. And then they quit. But the people that succeed push through the wall. They keep going even when it feels impossible. They refuse to quit, even when their head warns them to slow down, because they know the breakthrough always comes after resistance. The time you feel like quitting is the exact moment to push harder. This means you must grow familiar with discomfort. Most individuals avoid discomfort. They want success to be easy. They want to feel happy while working. They want to feel motivated, energized, and inspired every day. But that's not how success works. Success entails pushing oneself into discomfort, working when you're weary, executing when you're frustrated, staying focused when you're distracted, and keeping going even when you feel like you have nothing left. Hard work isn't glamorous. It's not fun or comfortable. It's early mornings and late nights. It's many hours of dedicated effort. It's saying no to distractions. It's sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term prosperity. It's training your mind to stay focused in while everything around you pulls you off track. And if you can perfect this, if you become the kind of person who works harder, longer, and more consistently than everyone else, you will win. Not because you're the most talented or because you had the best opportunity, but because you outworked everyone else. Most people won't do this. Most individuals stay comfortable. Most individuals make excuses. Most people work hard for a short time but stop when it gets challenging. That's why most individuals remain ordinary. But you're not most folks. You will wake up every day and do the task. You'll push yourself harder than anyone else. You'll outlast the competition. You'll sacrifice comfort for development. Because of that, success will become inevitable. Not because you're lucky, not because you're gifted, but because you're willing to work when others quit. Most people want success, but they won't go through the procedure it needs. They seek the rewards but avoid the discomfort. They seek outcomes but unwilling to push through opposition. That's why they stay stuck. The truth is, success isn't about how much you want it. It's about how much you're willing to suffer for it. Most people want to win but aren't willing to bleed for it. They won't sacrifice. They can't bear the pain of leveling up. This is where the separation happens. Everyone desires success. Everyone wants more money, more freedom, more opportunities. Everyone desires greatness. But most aren't willing to withstand the agony, discomfort, and sacrifice greatness entails. Most give up when it gets hard. They want success to be convenient. They desire advancement without resistance. But that's not how it works. Success isn't given, it's earned, and the price is agony. The question isn't whether you want to succeed. The question is, are you willing to suffer for it? Are you willing to wake early when exhausted? Keep working when results aren't visible? Are you ready to accept rejection, losses, and failures? And keep going forward. Because that's the price. That's what differentiates winners from quitters. Most start strong, passionate about their ambitions, motivated at first. They press aggressively for weeks or months. But when it gets difficult, they slow down, question themselves, tell themselves it's not meant to be. The reality is, it's not that they aren't capable. It's that they're reluctant to pay the price. They want victory to come easy, to win without hardship. Because of that, they never reach their potential. But those who accomplish at the greatest level expect the fight. They realize growth takes discomfort. They understand setbacks are part of the process. Instead of rejecting or complaining, they embrace it. They push through it, knowing the hard days matter most. They realize that how they respond when things get tough determines whether they succeed or fail. Because of that, they never quit. They never slow down. They never lower their standards. They keep working no matter what. Most individuals seek guarantees. They want to know their hard effort will pay off. They want confidence that if they keep pushing, they will obtain the results they seek. But that's not how success works. There are no assurances. You can do everything properly and still fail. You can work harder than everyone else and yet lose. Most people cannot handle that fact. They need certainty. They need to know their efforts will lead to success. When they don't see immediate results, they stop. They give up. They convince themselves it's not working. But winners work without assurances. They push themselves even when results haven't arrived yet. They keep disciplined even when it feels like they're going in circles. They keep executing even when it looks like nothing is working, because they understand success isn't about instant results, it's about generating momentum. Once momentum is built, success becomes inevitable. But you can't generate momentum if you're not willing to face resistance. That's why so few succeed. They stop too soon. They work hard for a while, but when results don't come fast enough, they slow down. They think maybe they should try something else. Maybe they're not cut out for this. They start doubting themselves, and instead of pushing harder, they quit. The truth is, most individuals quit immediately before the breakthrough. They quit up when they're just one step from winning. That's why most never fulfill their potential. They quit before momentum kicks in. You can't afford that error, since now you know success is about endurance. It's about lasting longer than everyone else. It's about showing up every day and doing the work. Even when you're exhausted, frustrated, or doubting yourself, it's about trusting the process even when results aren't obvious yet. The truth is, results come last, the labor comes first. If you're not willing to labor without quick results, you will never win. This means you must cease tying your work to the outcome. Most people are motivated by rewards. They want to see results and know their effort is paying off. When outcomes aren't fast enough, they stop. But those who succeed aren't motivated by outcomes. They're motivated by the process. They work hard not expecting quick results, but understanding the process would eventually produce success. They trust the labor, the fight, and the discomfort. And that's why they succeed. Most people will never grasp this. They'll tell you you're working too hard. They'll tell you to slow down. They'll think you're pushing yourself too hard. But if you listen, you'll stay stuck. Because the truth is, most people don't want to see you win. Most people want you to remain at their level. Your growth betrays their complacency. Your progress tells them they could have done more, but decided not to. Instead of boosting their standards, they'll try to convince you to lower yours. That's why you must preserve your view, guard your energies, defend your work ethic. You cannot allow people's opinions define your effort. You cannot let their uncertainty divert your focus. You cannot let their comfort become your ceiling. If they choose comfort, that's their road. But you've already decided. You've already committed to becoming your best self. That means you won't slow down. You won't allow anyone pull you off path. You'll keep working no matter what. You must be persistent with your standards. Most people drop theirs to fit their surroundings. They perceive shortcuts and follow. They witness slackers and start slacking. But the winners, they increase the bar. They set greater criteria for themselves. They expect more of their own performance than anyone else could. And that's why they win. Not because they're more gifted, not because they got lucky, but because they refuse to drop their standards. That's why hard effort matters. Not because it ensures success, but because it establishes an unassailable foundation. When you outwork everyone, when you push through weariness, when you execute daily with focus and discipline, you build belief, you build power, you build momentum. And when you have that, success ceases being a matter of if, it becomes a matter of when. Most people quit right before they break through. They stop not because they aren't capable, but because they tell themselves it's not working. They think no results equals bad direction. But in fact, outcomes always come last. Growth happens silently. Progress builds beneath the surface. The only way to view it, stay consistent long enough for the breakthrough. Most people quit too soon. They go away when it feels like nothing's happening. But if they had pushed just a bit longer, momentum would have caught fire. That's why success takes patience. Most people are hooked on speed. They want results now. They want fast proof their effort matters. And when that proof doesn't show up fast, they start hunting for shortcuts. They move from one technique to the next. They cease trusting the process. And when they do, they destroy the momentum that was growing underneath the surface. Success is not about speed. It's about consistency. It's about staying focused and devoted long enough for the job to start showing results. The people who succeed at the highest level realize this. They are not focused on instant outcomes. They are focused on generating momentum. They recognize that outcomes are the byproduct of consistent action over time. They recognize that the early stages of growth are the hardest, because that is when resistance is highest. And they know that if they can push through that resistance, if they can keep going when most people quit, they will separate themselves from everyone else. Success is not about completing the job when it's easy. It's about doing the work when it feels pointless. when you're wary, when you're frustrated, when you feel like you're not making progress. That is when it matters most. Most people assume the hardest part of success is starting, but it's not. The hardest aspect is being consistent when nothing is occurring yet. The hardest part is showing up when you feel like you're wasting your time. But that's the difference between those who win and those who don't. The winners keep going, no matter what. This is why you must learn to trust the process. Most people leave because they don't trust that the procedure is working. They want promises. They want to know their hard work will pay off. But there are no assurances. The only thing you can control is your effort. And the folks who succeed are the ones who trust the effort. They stay dedicated, even when the results haven't showed up yet. They recognize that consistency produces momentum. And once momentum starts in, it becomes unstoppable. Most people never reach that point because they give up too soon. They stop working when the results don't arrive fast enough. They start questioning themselves. They tell themselves they're doing something wrong. But the truth is, there's nothing wrong with the process. They just stop too soon. They let emotions overwhelm discipline. They let doubt slow them down. They let the discomfort of uncertainty drive them off track. But you won't make that mistake because you now understand that success isn't about how you feel. It's about how you execute. It's about working hard when you feel confident and when you feel uneasy. It's about turning up when you feel inspired and when you feel discouraged. It's about completing the work when you feel like you're making progress and when you feel stuck. Because the truth is, progress is happening even when you can't see it. The breakthrough is coming, even when it feels like nothing is working. And if you keep working long enough, you'll reach a point where the results arrive faster than you ever dreamed. Most people aren't patient enough to reach that point. They expect success to arrive swiftly. They feel that if they work hard, results should arrive immediately. And when that doesn't happen, they quit. But the truth is, there's always a wait between action and outcome. The work you're doing today might not show returns for weeks, months, or even years. That doesn't mean it's not working. That doesn't mean you're not improving. That doesn't mean you're not gaining momentum. What you're doing today is establishing the framework for future success. And the only way to see that success is to keep going. This is why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is transient. Some days you'll feel invigorated. Other days you'll feel wary. Some days you'll feel confident. Other days you'll feel discouraged. But discipline is what keeps you moving forward no matter how you feel. Discipline keeps you focused when distractions emerge. Discipline helps you push through discomfort, setbacks, and failure. The ones that triumph aren't those who are inspired every day. They're the ones who've perfected discipline. Many assume that successful people are always driven, but that's not true. Successful people have just conditioned themselves to do action without seeking incentive. They've built execution into a habit. They've conditioned themselves to perform at a high level, even when exhausted, even when disheartened, even when nothing seems to be working. That's why they succeed, because they're not driven by emotion, they're driven by dedication. So quit expecting instant results. Success isn't about speed, it's about momentum. And momentum takes time. It takes keeping steady through the early moments of doubt and uncertainty. It takes trusting the process even when there's no obvious progress. Most folks can't do that. Most individuals need proof before they believe. But winners stay tuned in even when they see nothing happening. They keep working even when it feels pointless. Because they know effort always leads to results. Eventually. That's why most individuals remain ordinary. They crave comfort. They let emotions lead them. They lack the fortitude to persevere. They labor hard for a short time, but when results don't come fast, they slow down. They convince themselves it's not working. But you are not like them. You won't make that mistake. You'll stay focused. You'll stay disciplined. You'll stay dedicated, even when nothing seems to be changing. Because you know progress isn't always obvious, but it's always happening beneath the surface. And when the breakthrough comes, when momentum kicks in, it will come swiftly. The results will come up. The progress will multiply. The opportunities will appear. But that can only happen if you stay devoted through the early stages. It can only happen if you keep working when most others stop. It can only happen if you are disciplined enough to stay consistent when most people quit. And that's why you will win, because you are not most people. You are willing to work harder, longer, and more consistently than anyone else. That is the secret to unstoppable success. The moment you start to make progress, the moment you begin to distance yourself from the average, opposition will intensify, not just from within, but from the outside. People will start to question you. They'll wonder why you're working so hard. They'll claim you're obsessive. They'll tell you to relax, to take a break, to slow down. They'll think you're doing too much. If you're not psychologically strong, if you're not clear about your vision, you'll start to believe them. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder whether maybe they're correct. But they're not. They're just uncomfortable watching you grow. When you labor harder than everyone else, you break the balance. You make people uncomfortable because your progress emphasizes their lack of progress. Your work ethic exposes their excuses. Your discipline reveals their inconsistencies. Instead of upgrading their standards, most people will try to bring you down to their level, not because they want to hurt you, but because your growth causes them to confront their own limitations. And most people aren't ready to face that. This is why you must become psychologically bulletproof. You cannot let other people's opinions decide how hard you work. You cannot let their misgivings impair your determination. You cannot let their insecurities slow you down. The truth is, most people will never grasp your level of commitment. Most people are comfortable living average lives. Most individuals do just enough to get by. When people see you working more, pushing yourself over your boundaries, waking up early and remaining late, they will question you. They will doubt you. They will criticize you. But that is not your concern. It is not your job to make others comfortable with your advancement. It is not your obligation to make them comprehend why you're working so hard. It is not your obligation to explain why you chose discipline above comfort. Your sole task is to keep focused on your vision. Your sole job is to keep working. Your sole task is to keep executing day after day, no matter who supports you and no matter who doubts you. Because at the end of the day, success is not a team sport. You are not working for their approval. You're working for your future. That's why you must create tunnel vision. You cannot afford to be distracted by what others say. You cannot afford to be taken off track by their opinions. Most people don't grasp what it takes to succeed at the top level, and that's why most people never make it. They want to be loved. They want to fit in. They want to be accepted. And because of it, they compromise their standards. They reduce their goal. They quit working as hard, out of fear of losing relationships. But the folks who win aren't worried about being liked. They aren't bothered about fitting in. They aren't worried about losing people. They focus on one thing: winning. Most people will tell you that you're taking life too seriously. They will think you're working too hard. They'll tell you to relax, take it easy, slow down. But the truth is, they simply say that because they don't have the courage to push themselves. They're trying to transfer their comfort onto you. They want you to slow down so they feel better about staying in the same spot. But you can't afford to slow down. You can't afford to reduce your standards just to make others comfortable. You can't afford to decrease your ambition to match others who aren't even trying. This means you must quit seeking validation. Most people need validation. They need support. They want to know others understand why they work so hard. But that demand for confirmation slows you down. That craving for acceptance undermines your determination. That urge to be understood makes you hesitate, and hesitancy kills progress. Because when you hesitate, and once momentum is lost, uncertainty seeps in. Doubt is the enemy of success. It slips in when you slow down. It appears when you second think yourself. It takes control when you stop trusting your path. And uncertainty doesn't come all at once. It grows little by little. It starts when you skip a workout. It begins when you listen to folks who aren't working toward their goals. It starts when you stop trusting your vision and wonder whether maybe you're doing too much. But that's how you lose, not because you're inept, but because uncertainty weakens your discipline. But you won't let that happen. You now understand doubt only exists when you hesitate. The antidote to doubt is action. When you're moving, executing, and focused on the work, doubt can't survive. When you're locked in, working harder than everyone else, pushing yourself to exhaustion, there's no room for doubt, no space for insecurity, no room for fear. Because you're too busy working. This means you must establish a work ethic so strong doubt can't survive. You must create momentum so tremendous hesitating isn't an option. You must push yourself so hard others start questioning your sanity. You must develop a foundation of discipline and execution so strong nothing pulls you off track. Because once you reach that level, you become unstoppable. Most people never get there because they're dominated by how they feel. They assume if they're exhausted, they should stop. They assume if they're disheartened, they should take a break. They assume if they don't see results, they should alter direction. But the people who win keep going no matter how they feel. They stay focused no matter what distractions occur. They trust the process no matter how long it takes for results to materialize. That is why they win, because they have mastered the skill of outlasting everyone else. This is the reality of success. It's not about being the brightest. It's not about being the most skilled. It's about being the most constant, the most focused, the most disciplined. It's about working harder than everyone else, not just for a week, not just for a month, but for years. It's about setting a standard so high for yourself that most others can't even fathom what you're accomplishing. If you can stay locked in at that level, if you can stay committed to that degree of execution, success becomes inevitable. Success is not about chance, it's not about natural skill. It's not about being in the right place at the right moment. It's about how hard you're willing to work. It's about how much you're willing to endure. It's about how long you'll stay disciplined when most people quit. The people that win aren't the lucky ones. They aren't the ones with innate skill. They're the ones who work harder than everyone else day after day, year after year, until success is inevitable. The ultimate test of success isn't how you perform when things go well, it's how you respond when everything falls apart. When you experience setbacks, face rejection when nothing seems to work. Most people can work hard while they're winning. Most people can stay motivated when things go their way. But those that succeed at the top level keep working when everything is falling apart. They stay focused when the pressure's highest. They turn up day after day, even when results aren't arriving. This is where most people fail. They work hard until it gets rough. They push till they strike a wall. They stay disciplined until rejection hits. Then they stop. They slow down. They tell themselves maybe they're not made out for this. Maybe success isn't intended for them. But the truth is, they quit too soon. They gave up right before the breakthrough. They slowed down when they could have pushed harder. Because of that, they never reached their potential. The ones that win push harder when it gets difficult. They intensify the pressure when disappointments happen. They strengthen their standards when resistance grows. They know success isn't about performing well when things are easy. It's about how you respond when things get rough. Anyone can work hard when motivated. The real test is whether you can stay locked in when inspiration diminishes, when excitement wears off, when results haven't arrived yet. That's the test. And the ones who win are those who pass it every single time. Most people never break through because they expect success to come easily. They feel that if they work hard, results should follow immediately. When it doesn't happen, they cease. They slow down. They tell themselves they're doing something wrong. But the truth is, outcomes come last. The work always comes first. Discipline comes first. Consistency comes first. If you're not willing to put in the work before seeing results, you'll never win. Most people live reacting to their circumstances. They allow their work ethic rely on how they feel. If motivated, they work hard. If discouraged, they quit. If things go well, they push harder. If things go poorly, they slow down. That's why most never succeed. They let emotions dominate their job. The winners work no matter how they feel. They execute regardless of circumstances. They keep focused despite outcomes because success isn't about feelings, it's about discipline. You must become emotionally impenetrable. Don't let setbacks weaken you. Don't let rejection slow you down. Don't let the discomfort of uncertainty hinder you. Most individuals stop working when discouraged, slow down when tired, and give up when it gets hard. But you are different. You're not controlled by sentiments but by devotion to your vision. That implies cease overthinking. Most individuals talk themselves out of success by overanalyzing. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect strategy, and strive to forecast every result before acting. This produces hesitancy, doubt, and anxiety. Winners don't hesitate. They don't overthink. They don't wait for perfection. They trust the process. They act even when hesitant because they realize momentum is produced via doing, not contemplating. Most are immobilized by indecision, stuck attempting to find the ideal strategy or perfect plan. But the truth is, no plan is flawless. The only way to discover what works is to start working. The only way to get clarity is via action. The only way to see if anything will work is to execute. Winners take action even when hesitant. They make decisions without all the answers because clarity comes via acting. Don't overthink. This implies you must become decisive. Most people pause because they fear making the wrong decision. They're terrified of failing, afraid of looking silly. But those who triumph recognize that hesitancy is more perilous than failure. When you hesitate, you lose momentum, and losing momentum opens the door to doubt. Winners aren't the ones who make perfect decisions. They're the ones who decide swiftly and change as they go. They recognize failing is part of the process. They recognize making a mistake decision is better than making no decision at all, since wrong decisions teach you, while hesitancy keeps you stranded. This means you must get comfortable with failure. Most people fear failure, seeing it as a sign of incapability or wickedness. But winners perceive failure as feedback, as data, as a vital step toward growth. Every failure teaches you something, makes you better, and builds your resilience. Winners are those willing to fail repeatedly because they realize failure is the way to success. Most individuals never succeed because they aren't willing to fail. They desire perfection. They want to avoid mistakes. They want everything to be immaculate before acting. Winners don't aim for perfection. They aim to improve. They don't avoid failure. They use it to grow. They know every mistake, setback, and failure makes them stronger, smarter, and more capable. That's why they win. Not by avoiding failure, but by learning from it. This approach promotes unstoppable success, not perfection, not motivation, not luck, but discipline, resilience, and an unbreakable work ethic. It's the ability to work harder than everyone else, endure more discomfort than anyone else, and keep turning up when others stop. It's about keeping focused, disciplined, and locked in, no matter how you feel, what distractions occur, or how long it takes to see results. Success isn't about speed, it's about perseverance. It's not about talent, it's about consistency. It's not about luck, it's about discipline. If you're willing to work harder, longer, and more consistently than everyone else, success becomes inevitable. The lesson is clear: success isn't about talent, luck, waiting for the perfect moment, or hoping things fall into place. Success is about how hard you're willing to work and how disciplined you choose to be. How long are you willing to stay dedicated, even when things aren't working? Most people never experience real success because they aren't willing to pay the price. They labor hard for a while, but when it gets difficult, when results don't come fast enough, when resistance occurs, they slow down, pause, and stop. That's why they remain average, not because they lack aptitude, but because they lack consistency. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You already know the labor involved. You already know the habits you need to create and the changes you must make. The problem isn't knowledge, the problem is execution. Most people know what to do but lack the discipline to follow through. They lack the consistency to keep going when things get tough. They lack the mental strength to keep concentrated when distractions come. That's why they fail. Not because they aren't smart enough, not because they lack talent, but because they lack discipline. You cannot afford to make that error. You cannot afford to slow down when it gets difficult. You cannot afford to delay when doubt creeps in. You cannot allow losses weaken your determination, because now you understand success isn't about feelings. It's about decisions. It's about deciding to stay devoted when you feel fatigued. It's about choosing to keep working when results aren't evident yet. It's about choosing to trust the process even when it feels like nothing is happening. That's the difference between those who win and those who don't. Winners aren't usually more talented, they're more committed. They labor harder, they endure more, they refuse to quit. This is where most fail. They expect drive to carry them, inspiration to keep them going. But drive fades, inspiration disappears, and when that happens, most people stop. They slow down. They lose momentum. The winners keep going even when motivation evaporates. They keep executing even when they don't feel inspired because they recognize success isn't about feelings. It's about actions. Winners keep doing the work no matter what. The reality is, you will meet opposition, setbacks, and failure. That's part of the process, part of the journey. But if you stay engaged, if you keep working even when it's hard, momentum will eventually shift. Results will come. Opportunities will come. But it only happens if you are disciplined enough to outlast resistance. It only happens if you're consistent enough to develop momentum. It only happens if you're willing to work harder. Working longer and more persistently than anyone else, that is the true price of success. It's the difference between those who win and those who remain mediocre. If you're not willing to pay that price, you will never unleash your entire potential. The question is simple: are you willing to work harder than everyone else? Are you willing to wake up every day and push yourself even when you're exhausted? Are you willing to keep focused even when distractions appear? Are you prepared to keep going even when it feels like nothing is working? Because if you're not willing to do all that, you won't win. Success isn't about desire. It's about execution. Success isn't about desiring it. It's about proving it. Success isn't about drive. It's about discipline. And those that triumph are the ones determined to keep working when other people give up. This is why you must become brutal with your standards. Most individuals lower their expectations when things get bad. They slow down when they confront resistance. They settle for mediocre when they understand success involves sacrifice. But those who win never lower their standards. They never slow down. They never stop pressing. They lift the bar for themselves even when it's challenging. They expect more from themselves even when they're fatigued. They hold themselves to a higher degree of execution even when no one else is watching. That's why they win, because they've set a standard most others can't maintain. This is why you must stop worrying about what others think. Most individuals won't comprehend your work ethic. They won't grasp why you push yourself so hard. They won't comprehend why you chose discipline over ease. But that's not your problem. Their understanding isn't essential for your achievement. Their approval isn't vital for your growth. The people who triumph are willing to be misunderstood. They're willing to be doubted. They're willing to be ridiculed. Because they know success isn't about being liked, it's about winning. So from now on, stop explaining yourself. Stop seeking validation. Stop waiting for approval. Stay locked in on your vision. Stay focused on your process. Stay committed to your discipline. No matter what comes your way, no matter how weary you feel, no matter how much resistance you meet, keep working, keep executing, keep showing up. Because the people that win aren't always the most gifted. They're the ones who refuse to quit. The ones who win aren't usually the wisest. They're the ones who work the hardest. And if you're willing to stay focused, if you're willing to keep pushing, if you're willing to work more than everybody else, you will win. The truth is, success is already waiting for you. The opportunities are already out there. The results are already possible. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is how hard you're willing to work. Most people will never attain their potential because they aren't willing to do what it takes. They are unwilling to push through discomfort. They refuse to stay disciplined when motivation diminishes. They won't tolerate the challenge that comes with growing. But you're different. You're not controlled by how you feel. You're not controlled by others' opinions. You're not controlled by transitory setbacks. You're driven by your vision, your discipline, your ideals. And that's why you will win. At the end of the day, success is a choice. You can choose to stay comfortable, or you can choose to grow. You can stay where you are or push yourself to the next level. You can make excuses, or you can execute. Those that win aren't the ones it was easiest for. They're not the naturally gifted or those with the best resources. They are the ones that decide to work harder than everyone else every single day, no matter how they feel, no matter what distractions come, no matter how tough it gets. They decide to keep going, and that's why they win. Now, it's your time. The path is ready. Opportunities are waiting. The question is, are you willing to work hard enough to accomplish them? Are you willing to push harder than anyone else? Are you ready to stay disciplined when things get tough? Because if you do, if you stay locked in, keep working, keep pushing, success becomes inevitable. Not because you were lucky, not because you're talented, but because you're prepared to work harder than everyone else. That's the secret to unstoppable success.